This video is not intended for children.
Hello everyone, our topic this week was requested by Damien Kapusniak. We'll be going over Organization 13 from the Kingdom Hearts series. Spoilers for the Kingdom Hearts series.
So, Organization 13 is essentially the longest-standing group of powerful named bad guys in the Kingdom Hearts series. As the name suggests, there have generally been about 13 members, with its membership swelling up to 14 at its height and eventually being chopped down to 0 by the end of the most recent game, Kingdom Hearts 3. Additionally, there are kinda sorta two sets of organizations, the original Organization 13 and the quote-unquote real Organization 13. The original organization is fairly self-explanatory. It was the first one, and the real organization was a second organization formed after the first one collapsed. Though several members from the original organization rejoined the second, True organization, it's the whole thing.
Originally, Organization 13 was formed of 13 powerful human-formed nobodies, the bodies and memories of strong-willed people who have lost their hearts to darkness. See our previous video on nobodies and heartless here for details on what that means. With their 14th member being a replica rather than a nobody, which we'll explain shortly. The 6 founding members of Organization 13 all knew each other prior to becoming nobodies, and the results of their actions as normal people actually led to the creation of the organization. Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep takes place 10 years before Kingdom Hearts 1. At the end of Birth by Sleep, Xehanort, the overarching antagonist of the Kingdom Hearts series, who was quite old by that time, stole the body of a much younger Keyblade wielder, Terra, but lost his memories due to the events that followed. See our video on Aqua for more information on how that happened. While under the effects of his amnesia, Xehanort was taken in by a wise, kind, and brilliant king/scientist named Ansem, becoming one of his apprentices. Basically, they were just a cabal of brilliant researchers. During the 10 years between Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 1, Ansem and the others would, with Xehanort's permission, participation, and insistence, perform numerous tests on him in an effort to help him reclaim his memories. Their experiments eventually led to their collective discovery of the existence of the Heartless.
Upon the discovery of Heartless, the group was quite intrigued and studied them with fascination. However, as they began to understand more about them as creatures of darkness that fed on the hearts of others, Ansem finally ceased all research on the subject, commanding his apprentices to leave that field of study alone, fearing what could happen if they delved further into their studies, as well as being concerned about the moral and ethical ramifications of said studies, since their research up to that point had already led to the creation of more than a few Heartless, which are only created when a person's heart, basically their soul, is corrupted and lost to darkness. However, led by Xehanort, who had by that time become a charismatic leader for the apprentices, Ansem's apprentices continued their research in secret, even going so far as to build a machine that could create synthetic Heartless of their own. How the blazes they did all of this in a Science King's castle's basement without him noticing, we will never understand. Ultimately, Xehanort's memories, along with his grand ambitions and lifetime of Keyblade-wielding knowledge, was restored, and those factors, combined with their research, ultimately led to him convincing the rest of Ansem's apprentices to voluntarily lose their hearts to darkness, splitting each of them into a Heartless and a powerful nobody. It was around this time that Ansem discovered what they'd been doing, and in response, they all cast him into the realm of darkness before carrying on with their work.
Oddly, while they each continued their various studies, most notably to the Heartless nobodies and the creation of replicas, which are essentially fake bodies that could house hearts/souls, both real and fake hearts/souls, the organization had the stated goal of reacquiring their hearts so that they could once again become whole, even though they'd done this on purpose. Nobodies are formed when a person's heart is stolen by darkness. The nobody is the body and soul left behind, animated by that person's sheer force of will. Yes, we've said before that the heart is basically the soul, and that's because in Kingdom Hearts, a heart is what most of us think of as the soul. It's all the emotions and personality bits that make you, you. Conversely, a soul in Kingdom Hearts is just the term for the life force that animates your body. As such, a nobody is inherently a creature devoid of a heart, supposedly devoid of emotion or feeling as a result. Despite their quote-unquote lack of feelings, each of the organization's members felt a certain emptiness in their being because of this, and so they sought to become whole once more. That was not the organization's true purpose, however. Xehanort, and thus his nobody Xemnas, leader of Organization 13, desired to forge the Keyblade, and with it gain access to the true Kingdom Heart, the source of all hearts in creation, and use it to remake the world. He needed the Keyblade because it was the only key and thus the only way to access Kingdom Hearts. But to forge it, he needed to create a clash between 7 hearts of pure light and 13 hearts of pure darkness. Xehanort's original plan was to fill each of the Organization 13's nobodies with pieces of his own black heart, creating the 13 darknesses he'd need to forge the Keyblade, Organization 13. To that end, he fed the organization the story that they could only regain their hearts through the creation of a lesser Kingdom Hearts.
He did this partially in the hopes that it would occupy the organization's members' time and keep them from developing emotions and ties, as he knew that in doing so they could create their own hearts within themselves, which would mean that he couldn't fill the void with his own heart, as well as presumably to use the power of the Lesser Kingdom Hearts they sought to create for his own ends if they were successful. To that end, the final 2 members recruited to the organization were Roxas and Xion. Roxas was the nobody of the primary series protagonist, Sora, and Xion was a replica, technically a replica of Roxas specifically, but created from the data mined from Sora's memories, with the intent of aiding Roxas in his mission and/or replacing and subsuming him if need be. As a side note, the organization's members all choose/are given new names upon becoming members of the organization. These names are always an anagram of their original name with the addition of an X. According to the developers, this was a stipulation Xemnas added as a nod to his fascination with the Keyblade, the key to the true Kingdom Hearts. Thus, Sora becomes Roxas, Lee becomes Axel, and so on and so on. Xemnas' name comes from the fact that Xehanort was going by Ansem by the time that he split into Ansem the Heartless and Xemnas the Nobody. Roxas and Xion are integral to the original organization's stated mission goal, creating a Lesser Kingdom Hearts, because their primary method of doing so is by destroying Emblem Heartless, synthetic Heartless created from the machine made by the original humans that became the founding members of Organization 13, each of which contain hearts, as they'd seemingly found a way to lure all such released hearts to the same location, slowly building a Kingdom Hearts from it over time. A task that could only be accomplished by a Keyblade wielder, which Roxas and Xion, as fragments of Sora, a Keyblade wielder, technically were. Why Xemnas, as a nobody of Xehanort, a Keyblade Master, and the body of Terra, another Keyblade Master, can't or doesn't do so has only been very lightly addressed, with small hints indicating that he can't anymore, and some theories indicating that he simply doesn't for some reason.
Over the course of the series, every member of the organization is either defeated by Sora and his best friend Riku, or defects to the good guy's side, and gets absorbed or defeated in the process. Aided in their defeat by a lot of the members backbiting and working their own plots against each other on the side, with at least a few of them growing hearts in the process and thus foiling Xehanort's plans even if they hadn't been defeated. Fortunately for Xehanort, yay, he weaves plans within plots within schemes, and as such had a backup plan ready. After the original organization's destruction, Xehanort used time-traveling shenanigans to place the hearts of several temporally displaced versions of himself into replicas in the current time, thus creating the second real Organization 13, about half of whom's members were straight-up versions of himself, while the others were mostly made up of defeated members of the original organization. If a person becomes a Heartless and a Nobody, and both the Heartless and the Nobody are destroyed, that person recombines into a normal being. As such, when each of the original organization's members were destroyed, they reconstituted as their former selves. Several of these members willingly became nobodies once more, and rejoined Xehanort as members of his real Organization 13, with inferences being made that Xehanort then placed portions of his heart within them so that they could act as his 13 pure darknesses. Though it's possible that those willing to go through that plan, despite the fact that fully half of them were double-typing the team and each other, just qualified as being purely dark enough without a donation from Xehanort's own black heart.
Thanks to Xehanort's manipulations, he got what he wanted. The 7 pure lights, Keyblade wielders all, clashed with his 13 pure darknesses, the real Organization 13. As a result of the clash, all but 2 of his organization members were either slain or banished back to their own time, in the case of his various analogs, with only himself and Braig/Zigbar surviving the confrontation. Once the Keyblade was formed, however, even Xehanort himself was eventually defeated by the combined efforts of the 7+ Keyblade wielders of light. Sora did like 98% of the heavy lifting, but hey, the rest of them helped. When the dust settled, the organization had been ripped apart for the second time. This time, with its founder seemingly dead and gone permanently. While its only surviving member was revealed to be a student of the Master of Masters, an ancient Keyblade wielder who had set in motion the events that led Xehanort to seek out Kingdom Hearts in the first place, and whom, presumably, we'll learn more about in future installments to the series, even though Kingdom Hearts was supposed to be the end of the series, but that is a story for another time.
And that's basically Organization 13, the order of lieutenants or generals for Xehanort's forces in the Kingdom Hearts universe. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like and maybe share it with someone you know might like it. If you have ideas for videos you'd like to see in the future, do like Damien Kapuzniak and let us know in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, be they lore, let's play, or other, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
In the meantime, this has been True Masters,
Masters
and Morons, signing off. Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to see more like it, hit that subscribe orb.
To see our last Let's Play, click or tap the link on the right.
For our last lore video, click the link on the left.
Thank you to all of our patrons for making these videos possible.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.